Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This week I have HD with us. I'm super excited to share with you who he is and what he's all about. So, with that said, HD, take a second to say hello to everyone.
Hey, folks.
Great. If you could tell us a little bit more about your business, that would be great before we do the one word open. So, just give us a high level overview, the name of the company, and then we'll get into the details later, but just give it the name of the company and all that good stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Rumble Inc. Creates a IT asset inventory platform that does active-based network discovery. We help people figure out what's connected to their network.
Awesome. And what's your one word open for today, HD?
Discovery.
Discovery. Wonderful. Why?
It's what we do, right? It's kind of what's been driving my career, my life, and how I get excited about technology.
That's really, really cool. Okay, now let's dive deep in your business. Talk about how your story, your why, how you got started, where you are, and what you're up to. That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. The short version is I've been, a hacker at heart for 20 something years. Both myself, my co-founder, have been working in security space, building out, everything from MSSPs to vuln scamming to pen test tools, working on the Metasploit project for about 15 years, building that out. Very focused on like how do you break into stuff and where are the weak links. But one thing we noticed, building all these tools is that we realized that no one has any idea what's on the network in the first place. And all the legacy tools on the IT side really require credentials, your Active Directory password, your SNB credentials, your CLI credentials to tell you anything about your network. And if you look at the security side of things, they typically don't have access to IT tooling, and they're looking at their security tools as their inventory, as they're using like kind of the side effect or the exhaust of security tooling as their way of getting a handle on what's on the network. So we realized like there's an opportunity here to build something that is really useful, not just for the security team, but also for the IT team, and also to support things like finance and depreciation and things like that. So we really, started from scratch. Said, hey, if we're just going to build a discovery tool, all we care about is doing the best possible job of figuring out what's on the network, and that's all we're doing. We're not going to sell you change management. We're not going to sell you backups. We're just going to tell you basic discovery and understanding your network. What do we need to do, and how do we need to build that? So we've been doing that for about 3 years now. We've got over 100 customers. We've got about 6,000 free users on our free tier for small businesses and home users, and it's going really well.
Awesome. Thank you. So, who's your typical sweet spot of a client that you help, by the way?
What we love is anybody. The worse your network is, the better our software helps. Basically, like because if you have an environment where there's lots of M&A or lots of students, like your university, or it's really widely distributed, like a state government, anything where you have not a single credential that'll work on everything, that's perfect for us because we don't need credentials for anything. We'll tell you MAC addresses, hardware, build dates, all sorts of fun information about all your network and how it's connected without logging into anything, without any credentials. So whether you're the security person, networking person, or IT person, you can plug the tool in and get to work.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that with me because I want the audience to know, exactly, as they're listening, they're trying to understand your business and who you help. I want them to get a good overall picture of like, what you're all about and who you help. So I appreciate that. Talk about a recent win, something that you just experienced and also what you learned from it so our audience could also have that takeaway as well.
Let's see. There's been a lot of fun stuff lately, so I'm trying to think of a good one. We help customers with identifying all kinds of weird network misconfigurations. So one of the fun things we can do in the product is we can find all routable private IPs reachable from your company network. We can say find all RFC 1918 and scan all of it. And we do that through sampling. We do that through discovery. Lots of cool discovery techniques. One thing that one of our customers did, who runs a large museum in the south of the U.S., is they ran an RFC 1918 scan and they kept finding thousands and thousands of devices that were not theirs. And they're like, why am I seeing all this stuff? Ends up the ISP wasn't filtering traffic between their customers. They were routing all their customers' backend networks between each other. And that was one of the very quick wins for us, was like, holy cow, we found this massive misconfiguration. It could have led to, a breach or security exposure or data leaks. So it was really good that we found that really quick. It's just one of the surprising outcomes of doing heavy discovery.
Think about the listeners right now. Think about how many eyebrows were raised as they're listening to this. They're like, whoa, like that's crazy. So that's really unique, and that's good that you're kind of building awareness about that. So that's a good win. What about a recent failure? What's a recent failure that you ran across, and what did you learn from it?
One thing we really try to focus on is not knocking devices over. Like we try to be really safe with scanning. So we do all this stuff trying to make sure we don't knock things over. We have a really safe scan engine. It's basically a passive scanner. We don't send any security related traffic. And we thought we had this we thought we had this nailed down. We thought we had this lick pretty much everywhere. We have clinical ICS, everyone using us for their stuff, no matter what kind of network. And then we had a customer reach out saying, hey, my Xerox printers keep reloading when you scan them. And we're like, what? How? What are we doing wrong? So we just had to go through with like a fine tooth comb and look through every single packet we send, every type of way we monitor it. What we so far believe is going on is if you connect to a port and you just don't send any traffic at all, the whole system just crashes and restarts. And so that's one of the things that's really difficult for us to prevent, because obviously we're not sending any traffic. We're trying to very nicely fingerprint it, but it's one of those cases where some vendor software is just so fragile that you still cause crashes just by not sending data as opposed to sending the wrong data.
Interesting. That's you know, you run your business day in day out. You never think about these intimate details of what you just described. So again, I'm super thankful for you sharing that with us. What would you tell your, if you could go back and you know, give one piece of advice to your 21-year-old self, if you could turn back time, what would you say to yourself in terms of one advice? If you could only give one advice to yourself back in the day.
Honestly, I'd probably tell myself to change jobs more frequently. I've always been kind of a loyalist. I just, join a small company and I stay, ride or die to the end. And sometimes that works out great when it's a great team, and sometimes it's a not so great team. So one of the first companies I started just had their exit almost 20 years later. So I got a coffee out of it, but it's one of those things where, I probably would have been happier if I moved on earlier.
Understood. That's really powerful. What about just as a generalization, any founders, CEOs, or other leaders that are listening? What's one piece of advice you would give them as they're like just having enjoying this conversation with us?
I think the big one for me is when you look at your market, you look at where you are. It's not a contest of check boxes. If you look at the way the analysts look at products and how they compare them, that's one view of the world. But what really matters is, are you solving customer problems? Are you actually solving their needs? And we've kind of taken the approach that we're just going to ignore what the analysts say. We're going to just listen to our customers, and our entire roadmap is driven by what people tell us and what they need. And it's been really freeing not to have to care about, do we have this feature because our competitors have those features. Instead, just saying our customer wants this kind of weird thing that we never heard anyone ask for before. But if we nail that, holy cow, it opened up all these new opportunities we didn't know existed. So for us, it's very much like just trying to keep the blinders on, really focus on the customer outcome, and not looking at what our competitors are doing, what the analysts are saying.
I love it. And are you one of my good friends? We always talk about this. We talk about are you in love with the problem or the solution? So I have to ask you this question: are you the type of leader that is in love with the problem, or you're in love with the solution?
I'd say honestly, you got to do both. I feel like, one thing, you definitely want to solve the problem, but the reason why you think you're capable of solving the problem is that you already have in your head an idea of what you think the solution will be, and you're really excited to go build that solution. That doesn't mean that, if it doesn't work out, you just keep following it as long as you possibly can. No, you got to change gears if it doesn't work, right? You have to understand that, maybe you're using the wrong tools, maybe it's the wrong approach to it. But end of the day, like, I think you really need both. You really need to not only understand the problem and really want to solve it, but you have to have a really confident view of how you want to solve it too. And there's definitely problems on both sides. If you can only care about the problem and then you just kind of change around what you build all the time, or you only care about the solution, you're using a hammer to do everything, right? And that doesn't work either. So I feel like there's a friendly balance there, I believe.
So true. I couldn't agree with you more. Are you an active? Do you have time to read books at all?
And yeah, I read quite a bit.
Do you? Okay, electronic or paper?
Mostly digital and mostly like pulp science fiction garbage. It's great.
Yeah. Can you give us the title of a recent book you read so our audience could kind of get a taste?
Yeah, this may actually need a second to pull it up. I apologize.
Awesome.
I love almost all of Charles Stross stuff for sure. I think my most recent book I read was Nnedi Okofor's Remote Control, which is just an amazing book in lots of ways.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Um, what about right now, as we've hit our stride clearly in this conversation and we're having fun? What's that one question you think I should have asked you, but I didn't? So what would that be?
I guess I'd say like, um, how did you become a CEO as opposed to just being yet another, nerd slinging code like I have been for years?
Great. Let's do it.
My take there is like, I actually did not want to be an executive. I actually had no interest in running a company and doing all the fun legal side and accounting and all that kind of fun stuff. But end of the day, no one knows your business better than you do. And if you're trying to build a solution, you really want to get customers, you actually want to get them to use it. And all you really care about is like building the solution. And well, let's say you're very technical and you really want to build a platform, you can't really realize that until you get customers to use it. And that means going through all the obstacles, understanding their needs. Like, so end of the day, like I'm really starting to actually enjoy the CEO side of things. But I'm coming from I want to write some code and let customers use it, and that's I get most of my joy of my work comes from customers using code I wrote and solving problems and being happy with it. But I realized like you can't hand that off to somebody else. You can't find a CEO who's just going to drop in and care about the customers the same way and do those things. So end of the day, it means stepping up and doing that work, even though it's not, wasn't my wheelhouse and it's not something that I was comfortable with when I started. But I feel like I'm finally getting into the swing of things.
Absolutely. It's your passion and no one could do it better than you. So that's really great. If our listeners wanted to find out more information about your company, let us know how they could get in contact with you.
Okay, yeah, www.rumble.run, which is a very strange TLD, but I love it. It's easy and hopefully you can remember it. But that's kind of where you can find stuff about our product, what we do. We've got a free tier for small businesses up to 256 assets, which is most people with like 100 employees or less, as well as home users. Strangely enough, most of our enterprise users start off using the product at home and be like, hey, this thing's cool. Let me take it to work. So we love our free tier, basically.
Awesome. I'll be sure to put that in the show notes as well. And as we're coming to an end here, if you could sign us off with a one word close. I know we started with discovery, and then what could we finish it up with, and also tell us why. So, what is your one word close?
Just grateful.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And this has been an outstanding conversation. I can't wait to have you back on here soon to catch up with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.